Good morning, Alex and friends. I'm Grace. Today is Friday, October 4th, 2024, and you're listening to Alex's News. The weather in Riverside is heating up, with a high of 97.4 degrees and a low of 70.8 degrees Fahrenheit. Be sure to stay cool and hydrated today. Coming up on Alex's News, we'll explore the constitutional implications of Trump's pressure on Pence during his presidency. Then we'll examine how the resolution of a dockworkers strike could affect consumer prices and the economy. Finally, we'll take a culinary journey to Peru, where a genetically modified guinea pig has revolutionized the country's cuisine. Stay tuned for these stories and more on Alex's News. We begin today with a story that continues to shed light on the tumultuous final days of the Trump administration. A new court filing has revealed startling details about the rift between former President Donald Trump and his Vice President Mike Pence over the 2020 election results. Joining us now with more on this developing story is our political correspondent, Ethan. Ethan, what can you tell us about this latest revelation?
Thank you, Grace. This new court filing, submitted by Special Counsel Jack Smith, offers an unprecedented look into what's being called Operation Pence Card. According to reporting from the Associated Press and ABC News, this was essentially Trump's strategy to pressure Vice President Pence into overturning the 2020 election results.
Can you explain what exactly Trump was asking Pence to do?
Certainly. Trump and his team, including lawyers Rudy Giuliani and John Eastman, developed a plan to challenge the election results through Congress. They falsely claimed that Pence, as president of the Senate, had the authority to reject or alter electoral votes during the certification process on January 6, 2021.
But did Pence actually have that kind of power?
No, he didn't. In fact, Pence's role in this process was strictly ceremonial and procedural, as defined by the U.S. Constitution and the Electoral Count Act of 1887. His actual authority was limited to opening the certificates of electoral votes and ensuring they were counted. He had no legal power to reject, return, or overturn electoral votes.
So how did Pence respond to this pressure from Trump?
According to the court filing, Pence resisted the pressure. On January 6, 2021, he released a public statement and wrote a letter to his colleagues in Congress, explaining that he could not unilaterally decide which electoral votes to count or reject. Despite Trump's public and private urgings, Pence proceeded to the Capitol to oversee the counting of the Electoral College votes.
This all happened on the day of the Capitol insurrection, correct?
That's right, Grace. The filing reveals that on January 6th, Trump made multiple calls to Pence, urging him to take action. When Pence refused, Trump targeted him in his speech to supporters, which ultimately led to angry protesters storming the Capitol, some even threatening to hang Mike Pence.
That's truly shocking, Ethan. How has this affected the relationship between Trump and Pence since then?
The schism has only widened. Pence has refused to endorse Trump's current bid for the presidency. It's worth noting that Trump's new running mate, J.D. Vance, has also refused to accept the 2020 election results, highlighting the ongoing division within the Republican Party over this issue.
And how has Trump responded to this new filing?
Trump has labeled the new filing as election interference and is seeking to have the case dismissed. It's important to remember that this is part of Trump's ongoing legal challenges related to his efforts to overturn the 2020 election. He has been indicted on criminal charges related to the conspiracy to overturn the election.
Thank you, Ethan, for that comprehensive report on this developing story. We'll be sure to keep our viewers updated as more information becomes available.
You're welcome, Grace. We'll certainly be watching this closely as it unfolds.
Indeed we will. Thanks again, Ethan. And now, let's move on to our next story. We now turn to our second story of the day. A major development has occurred in the ongoing port workers' strike on the East and Gulf coasts. For more on this, we're joined by our reporter, Chloe. Chloe, what can you tell us about this situation?
Thanks, Grace. I'm happy to report that the strike by tens of thousands of dock workers on the East and Gulf coasts has been suspended. This comes after a tentative agreement was reached today between the International Longshoremen's Association, or ILA, and the U.S. Maritime Alliance, known as USMX.
That's certainly welcome news. Can you give us some details about this agreement?
Absolutely. The key point of the agreement is a substantial wage increase. According to sources close to the negotiations, dockworkers will see their wages increase by 62% over the next 6 years. This means top dockworkers' hourly wages will rise from $39 to $63 by the end of the new contract.
That's quite a significant increase. How long did this strike last? And what was its impact?
The strike lasted for 3 days, affecting ports from Boston to Houston. As reported by industry analysts, it impacted over $2 billion worth of goods that typically flow through these ports daily. However, it's worth noting that many companies had accelerated shipments in recent months, anticipating potential disruptions.
I see. Was there any government involvement in resolving this strike?
Yes, there was. According to White House sources, President Biden played a role in urging the parties to reach a fair agreement. Senior administration officials, including Acting Labor Secretary Julie Su and Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg, were also involved in the negotiations.
Now, Chloe, what about the economic implications of this agreement?
Well, Grace, while the immediate economic impact is expected to be manageable, there are potential long-term effects to consider. Economic experts suggest that the significant wage increase could lead to higher shipping costs over time. These costs may eventually be passed on to consumers through higher prices for goods.
That's interesting. Are there any other issues that remain unresolved?
Yes, there is one major issue still on the table. The current master contract has been extended until January 15, 2025, which is 103 days from now. This extension allows time for further negotiations on other issues, particularly the union's demand for a ban on automation at the ports.
How might this agreement affect the industry moving forward?
According to industry analysts, this agreement sets a precedent for future labor negotiations in the shipping industry. It could also influence broader economic trends. Companies may need to adjust their supply chain strategies to mitigate increased costs, potentially leading to changes in shipping routes or logistics practices.
Thank you, Chloe, for that comprehensive report on this developing story.
You're welcome, Grace. We'll continue to monitor the situation and provide updates as they become available.
Thank you, Chloe. We appreciate your insights on this important economic development. Here are some other headlines. A Danish lawmaker from Greenland was asked to leave the podium in Parliament after refusing to translate her speech from Greenlandic to Danish. The incident highlights ongoing tensions over language rights and representation for lawmakers from semi-autonomous territories within the Danish realm. In Minnesota, an 18-year-old driver experienced a harrowing ordeal when his Honda Pilot suddenly accelerated to 120 miles per hour on rural roads. Quick thinking by the driver and a state trooper led to a controlled crash that safely stopped the vehicle, averting potential disaster. Migrant women arriving in Colorado are facing significant challenges in finding employment. Many, fleeing difficult conditions in their home countries, encounter frequent rejections and safety concerns while job hunting. The influx has also created tensions within existing immigrant communities. The cybersecurity firm IronNet, founded by former high-profile national security officials, has collapsed amid allegations of questionable business practices and failure to deliver on its promises. The company's dramatic fall has left bitter investors and raised questions about the judgment of its well-credentialed leaders. The Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office is reviewing new evidence in the case of Eric and Lyle Menendez, convicted of murdering their parents in 1989. The review could potentially lead to a resentencing hearing, as the brothers' claims of long-term sexual abuse by their father are being reconsidered in light of evolving attitudes toward such allegations. Now we turn to a story that's causing quite a stir in Peru. It's been 20 years since the creation of a genetically modified breed of guinea pig known locally as cuisine. Here to tell us more about this culinary milestone is our reporter Ethan. Ethan, what can you tell us about this unique anniversary?
Well, Grace, it's quite an interesting development in Peru's culinary and agricultural history. According to reporting from the Associated Press, this genetically modified breed of guinea pig, called Peru, was developed back in 2004 at the National Institute of Agrarian Innovation. It's revolutionized the production of this traditional Andean food source.
That's fascinating, Ethan. Can you explain what makes this breed so special?
Certainly, Grace. The key feature of the Peru breed is its rapid growth rate. As ABC News reports, these guinea pigs can reach a weight of 1 kilogram in just 56 days. That's compared to the 160 days it takes for traditional breeds. This genetic modification has greatly enhanced the efficiency of guinea pig farming.
Wow, that's quite a difference. But for those of us who might not be familiar, why are guinea pigs so important in Peru?
Well, Grace, guinea pigs, or cuisine as they're called locally, have been an integral part of the diet in the Andean region for over 5,000 years. According to U.S. News and World Report, there are over 25 million guinea pigs in Peru alone. They're so significant that Peru has even designated the second Friday of October as National Guinea Pig Day to promote their consumption.
I had no idea they were such a cultural staple. How are they typically prepared?
Typically, Grace, cuisine is considered a delicacy and is often served at various events, such as sporting competitions, religious festivals, and special occasions like baptisms. The meat is usually prepared by frying, which gives it a crispy texture. Interestingly, Marina Isabel Briquea ±O, an employee from the Cajamarca region, shared with AP News that guinea pigs are fed tender corn leaves, which contributes to their flavor.
That's really interesting, Ethan. But I have to ask, are there any concerns about genetically modifying animals for food?
That's an excellent question, Grace. While the celebration highlights the success of this genetic modification in enhancing food production, it's important to note that there are potential ethical concerns and environmental considerations. These include issues related to animal welfare, potential unintended consequences on ecosystems, and the long-term effects on human health. However, the sources I've consulted don't go into detail about these specific concerns for the Peru breed.
Thank you for that balanced perspective, Ethan. It's certainly a complex issue. Is there anything else we should know about this anniversary?
Yes, Grace. It's worth noting that the National Institute of Agrarian Innovation, where the breed was developed, raises thousands of these guinea pigs for distribution to farms across the country. This has likely contributed to the widespread adoption of this fast-growing breed. Also, while we don't have specific details on the nutritional profile of the Peru breed, guinea pig meat, in general, is known to be a good source of protein with lower fat content compared to some traditional meats.
Well, Ethan, this has certainly been an eye-opening report. Thank you for bringing us this unique story from Peru.
You're welcome, Grace. It's certainly an interesting blend of tradition and modern science.
Indeed it is. Thanks again, Ethan, and that concludes our final story for today's news segment. That's all we have for now. Today's episode was made by Alexander King with Claude Sonnet 3.5, the Perplexity API, and the Google Cloud Text-to-Speech API. I hope you have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow, Alex.